For more on those figures and the Chinese economy, Clayton Dube, Executive Director at USC, University of Southern California's U.S.-China Institute, joins us live from Los Angeles. And hello there, welcome to the show. You are a bit of an expert at this, and I want to start off by asking you, explain to us the importance historically and the concerns about inflation, why we're all so obsessed with it.
Well, we're all obsessed with inflation because we buy things. And so we're concerned about the direction of those prices. Or we're folks who borrow to buy, and high inflation, of course, reduces our overall costs. So inflation affects each of us, but it's also politically very sensitive, not just in China, but worldwide. But especially in China, where the slowdown in the general economy combined with high inflation causes a great deal of uncertainty.
So over the past decade or so, inflation was a very, very hot topic, and the government used a number of methods to control it. I mean, more recently, it was the property controls that it had. But share with us which one of these actions was most effective, and or perhaps what should they do?
Well, the effort to control property speculation that began just about 16 months ago, that had an impact, and that had a moderating effect on the property bubble. But that bubble is back. Prices are going back up. And so this is a really difficult state of affairs. So the Chinese government has the option of trying to use the fiscal measure of raising interest rates so as to try to slow down the economy, slow down the flow of money into that economy. But they're afraid that with economic contraction, a slowdown on credit would cause a slowing of economic growth, put people out of work, that sort of thing. And so the Chinese government's in a very difficult situation vis-a-vis the inflation. And so there's not a single tool that they're going to be able to use to address it.
So as I understand this, the borrowing of money, they use the money to build houses, which causes construction to go up. The building of houses, obviously developers want inflation because they want the price of the house go up, but the government perhaps doesn't want that because they don't want the citizens to be able to, there's an affordability issue. So there's a fine line there. What if housing prices stayed flat for a couple of years? What would the impact be?
Well, I think the impact would generally be positive, except on all of these folks who have invested a lot of money in buying second, third, fourth apartments on a speculative basis. And the problem they would have, of course, is they are counting on inflation to drive their asset price up, the value of their asset up, so that they'll be able to sell it later. But this is not healthy for the Chinese economy to have it driven by these speculative bubbles. And because housing has become so unaffordable, especially for young, well-educated people who can't afford an apartment, it's become a very politically sensitive issue. And so the government probably has to make a move to establish an annual property tax to curtail the speculation and to therefore make housing more affordable and make it possible for more people to gain access to it.
I mean, you would think it would be the other way around. You build more houses, there's more supply, and naturally, perhaps the price might calm down a bit. But it hasn't been the case, and I'm just curious, why do you think that is?
Because so much of what is being built is not being occupied. As you travel around the streets, certainly of some large cities, but definitely in county towns and places like this, you'll see at night a lot of apartment buildings where they're mostly dark. And it's not because they haven't completed these buildings, it's because many of the units have been purchased by speculators, people who are anticipating a continued rise in the price, and then they'll try to unload those apartments at that point. In the meantime, you have all of these people who would very much like to upgrade their housing, but because the prices just keep going up and up and up, it's impossible for them to do so.
Clayton Dube joining us from the University of Southern California, U.S.-China Institute. Thank you very much for your insights.